Hello, good evening. This is Prime Business with me, Beverly Broom. Ghana is expected to get the first tranche of World Bank budget support funding in September this year. Government could get about $300 million credited to its account, subject to meeting some conditions. The support is part of a $900 million that World Bank will advance to Ghana as part of the IMF program. World Bank Country Director Pierre Laporte has been speaking on a yet-to-be-aired PM Express Business Edition tonight at 9 p.m. on the Journeys channel.
To now, we've only been doing project support, which is in line with what our country partnership framework. But with the reform in place, we've readjusted our pipeline, our list of projects coming to factor in this budget support. It will be a 3-year program for $300 million each, totaling $900 million over 3 years. And we expect, because the fund program will overlap the year after, we will put another 250. So we will put over the 4 years about 1.1 billion. I'll come back to that. Then, because of the effects of the fiscal consolidation, we've also brought in early on additional financing for social protection of 150 million, which is going to the board this month. So this will come early. Our budget support will come in the second half of the year. But we've also brought in a financial sector support project, as you know, with the domestic restructuring of debt, domestic debt. These have impacted the banks. The capital adequacy have been hit. And as we speak, most banks, if not all, are probably below the capital adequacy requirement. And we are bringing in $250 million in emergency financial support project to help central bank and government cushion the impact on the banks of liquidity, and we're focusing mostly on solvency issues. But I want to make an important point. We will continue to deliver our regular projects. For instance, now in this month, we will bring an agriculture diversification project to the board for $200 million. We will also bring additional financing of 150 for Great Accra Resilience Project. So we will continue to do our regular work.
Let me try and focus on the budget support program thing, and that about $900 million. Is that also before the board? When are we hoping that we could be getting the first tranche? Will that be dependent on, just like the IMF program, meeting some conditions or prior actions to ensure that those disbursements come in? Can you update us on that one, please?
Absolutely. Our plan, our hope, is we can bring this to the board by September. But it will all depend how fast we reach agreement with government on the prior actions. It may be September, it may slip in October, but we're hoping we need to do it this year because IMF has factored into its financing gap. You know, when IMF goes to the board, if there's a gap, they cannot go. So they factored in $300 million from the World Bank. But this $300 million, I want to be very clear, it's not acquired, it's not given, it's not taken that World Bank will come and give. We need to have a strong reform package from government that accompanies as prior actions for us to deliver this $300 million. And these have to be in areas where us and government agree. These are areas that have caused problems for the budget or for the sectors. For instance, I cannot go in all the details because we are still talking, but where we feel we want to intervene in 4 pillars. One is the whole aspect of domestic revenue mobilization, which IMF also has some aspects because, you know, as we all know, Ghana's revenue GDP ratio is quite low, and we're hoping to accompany IMF reforms, government reforms to raise revenues. And there's a whole aspect around fiscal management, PFM, expenditure management. So we'll look at all these aspects. A second aspect is private sector development and financial sector. To accompany our financial sector project, we will also push for some reforms in the financial sector, because it's one thing to put money to address the problems now, but there are some long-term issues that still remain outstanding, and it will be important for Ghana to resolve, and we will support these reforms in that project. As I said before, when you have a kind of a very severe consolidation as you're having now, it's important to consider the growth agenda also. Because one thing is to squeeze the budget for you to realign and be able to pay your debt in the future. Protect the poor, which we're doing through the social protection project, but also how do you keep the economy going? you need to maintain your growth agenda. You need to maintain economic growth, because the faster you grow, the faster the economy recover, your ratios of revenue will improve, your ability to pay your debt will improve, and the economy will recover faster. And we need to relook at, we want to discuss with government certain reforms in the investment climate, because what brings you FDI is a good, sound investment climate. And today, there are areas where Ghana needs to do more. But the other two, very quickly, is energy. As I've said before, we all know energy is a huge burden on the fiscal framework. Government is subsidizing the energy sector over $1 billion a year. And something needs to be done urgently. And I must say that, unfortunately, reforms in that sector have been slow. And we're hoping with the program it will accelerate. And finally, the whole issue of building resilience. We have a pillar that will address, bring support to build socio-economic resilience, improve your social protection framework, because the World Bank may not always be giving money. Government, the budget has to be able to bring its own funding, the structures, the policies have to be there. And finally, climate.
Now, the International Monetary Fund staff are expected in town later this month to track progress of Ghana's program with the fund. This will be the first staff mission after the country secured a program with the IMF in April this year. The following report has more.
This is not a review of Ghana's program, but interestingly, it is coming a few weeks after Ghana secured the 3-year program with the IMF. Staff want to use this visit to find out how the country is progressing on those structural and quantitative reforms that Ghana is expected to implement under this program. For some, this visit is very important because when the IMF staff carry out their first program review in September this year, or even November, they will use the end of June indicators to make a judgment on whether Ghana has passed its first review for the second tranche of funds to be disbursed to the country. There will also be some consultations with government on whether it is struggling to meet some of the conditions. The mission visit will also afford the IMF team an opportunity to embark on another round of engagement with organized labor and the Finance Committee of Parliament on Ghana's program to ensure that it gets more stakeholder buy-in. The IMF staff will go to the board in November this year with its report on Ghana's program review. If it should pass that test, the board will go ahead and approve the second tranche of $600 million to be disbursed to government.
Moving on, 2 Chinese supermarkets are among 6 businesses that were busted by the enforcement and compliance team of the Ghana Revenue Authority for not issuing value-added tax invoice. Today's operation in the Asherman and Tema Metropolis focused on these firms that have not been issuing the Commissioner General's invoice. The following report has more.
I'm from Accra Area Enforcement. Yeah, your business failed to issue VAT invoice for transactions in accordance with Section 41 of the VAT Act. The period is 22nd April 2023, in the year of our Lord. We are arresting the management. So that's why we are here.
The team from the Ghana Revenue Authority and the Criminal Investigations Department picked up 2 Chinese supermarket managers and 4 local retail operators who were busily serving customers at the time of their arrest. The move is part of continuous effort by the authority to mobilize revenue for the state. According to head of the team, Joseph Annan, these 6 persons will be made to pay higher penalties.
Surprisingly, none of them have come to us that they don't qualify and we have picked them up. We'll also look at where we go to before we'll look at the size of the business and all that before we even go in to do the tax purchase. If you are with me, we've been to a few places and we've done a U-turn because I found a place to be too small. You understand? So and you see, when you are not registered and we pick you up, then your penalties are more than the one who is registered and not, because then it takes you back to when you were supposed to have registered and you failed to do so.
In all, 19 persons have been picked up so far to face prosecution over the VAT infractions. Mr. Annan has hinted that 2 of the managers who were facing same charges were made to pay their penalties after audit.
We have done the preemptive assessments. We're giving them their bills, and we pass them to pay immediately. And then the CID is also working on their statements. We also do our statement and give it the CID, because it's all part of the docket. So currently, that is where we have gotten to. Now, this very exercise is being done by all the area offices in Accra. All the area offices, the enforcement offices in Accra. I'm just coordinating the program.
Failure to issue the VAT invoice has denied the state of revenue to embark on certain government businesses.
Now, bulk oil distribution firms are downplaying the impact of Gold for Oil program on recent price reductions at the pumps. It comes on the back of the government's claim that the program has contributed significantly to price reductions in April and May this year. Dr. Patrick Ofori is Chief Executive of Bulk Oil Distribution Companies.
You'll check the total volume of product that we expect in the country. For their own issues and challenges, I don't think they've been able to do that. But also, to be fair to any businessman or any enterprise, you set up a year, you have your contracts with your international partners that runs into 2-3 years, that you've already set this up. And then at the beginning of the year, they announced that 50% of the market is going to be cut off and reserved for the strategic reserve partner that you get levied to support. I don't think it's fair and it makes any business. And whereas all the regulatory charges, the license fee of the $300,000 that the BDCs are paying, they didn't bring in a caveat and say that, well, since we are cornering a percentage of your market share for a state entity, we want you to have some element of reprieve, so that your license fee is also going to be scaled down 50% downwards. We've not had that, and I don't think if we really want to promote Ghanaian businesses and enterprises, such deliberate decisions should not have to go against the private sector, whoever is investing in that. But the issue of whether they should do the 50% and other things, I don't think any of our members plan their businesses based on BOS or TOR's operational efficiencies or inefficiencies. And clearly, some of the current challenges that we are having on the port basically is as a result of BOS biting more than they can chew.
Meanwhile, Dr. Ofori has also been giving reasons in terms of the main determinant of price reductions at the pumps. According to him, it's the cedi stability.
From all indication, the announcement of G4O gave some level of hopes to control the element of currency speculations. So they know that, well, as usual, the BDCs are not going to come on those monthly basis to demand the $350 million that they will require. If the government is saying he's going to sell gold and that he's going to receive over more than that amount, and is going to give that to either the BDCs or anybody who is importing petroleum products. Once they know there is that a dedicated line of stream, speculation is somehow controlled and limited. And so on that side, you can give credit to the policy announcement and the policy decisions that they went ahead with. But that notwithstanding, don't also forget that the country risks and its associated implications, when the announcement of the IMF, the successful negotiation of the debt exchange program and all that gave some element of confidence in the Ghanaian economy, and then also with IMF coming to town, people felt that there is going to be somehow some element of discipline within government expenditure and even revenue generation. So all these factors will have its impact on the currency and how people perceive the country's overall outlook. So that you can't also take any of these credit away from government and some of those initiatives. But as to per the research and the data analysis and everything that we've shown to you, and what we've also challenged other researchers on the line to also do a test run and other things, you clearly will know that at any given time T, be it in 2021 or 2019 or 2009 or whatever, the major determinants of petroleum products has always been the international prices and the currencies, performance, and how much maybe levies or taxes that is put on, or subsidy that is put.
We do some more stories now, and organized labor has hinted at a second round of industrial action on the 26th of June to drum home its demand for the reinstatement of 3 workers of Suno Nasogli who were sacked over their decision to join the Ghana Mine Workers Union. According to the Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Dr. Yauba, his outfit has resolved to petition the International Labour Organization at this year's conference to be held this month. The following report has more.
Following the recent demonstration by organized labor in protest against management of Suno Nasogli Power Ghana over the dismissal of 3 of its workers for joining the Mine Workers Union, organized labor has resolved to embark on another round of industrial action, as well as escalate the matter to the International Labour Organization at its latest conference. Here is Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Yauba.
We are now scaling the thing up to the entire organized labor. We are giving them up to 26th of June to get our 3 guys back to work. If that doesn't happen, by the 26th of this month, they will hear from us. And in the meantime, on the 9th of June, we are reporting this to the International Labour Conference. We don't think that this should happen in Ghana 67 years after independence. And so we are taking it up there. And we are hoping that all that will help them to think and think well before the 26th of June.
President of the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, Angel Kabonu, urged the Minister of Employment to act before the set date for the demonstration.
We, the public sector workers, will act actively in this endeavor from the 26th, because once it starts at the private sector, only God knows where it will end. And we'll have to stop it at this time. I will advise the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations to take this matter seriously, and that before the 26th of June, they take action to solve this problem. Other than that, we will all advise ourselves.
Executive Secretary of CLOSAG, Dr. Isaac Bampoado, appealed to the paramount chief of the Asogli state, Togbe Afede, the 16th, to act swiftly to avert the industrial action.
When we hear Asogli, we know it is Togbe Afede. And Togbe Afede is a chief.
Yes.
He has sworn an oath to protect his people. And if you look at the location of Asogli power plant, it is near to his jurisdiction. And I'm sure more than 50% of his constituents are working at Asogli. So we are appealing to him. He should make sure that this impasse comes to an end before 26th of June. Or else,
For his part, Assistant General Secretary of the Ghana Medical Association, Dr. Richard Salome, warned employers to desist from infringing on the rights of workers.
All workers have the right to unionize, and once it's enshrined in our constitution, it must be guaranteed. I particularly want to call on the government, the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations especially, that they must take this and enforce the laws and encourage the company to do what they have to do.
The University of Ghana UTAC Secretary, Professor Ransford Jampo, says it is not an offense for workers to join labor unions.
I think I've read this document and I kept wondering whether this is an organization that is being headed by Togbe Afede. He's a gentleman. I have a lot of respect for him. And so I'll join my colleagues to plead that, reading this and seeing these things happening in an organization that he heads, I think it's not good. I have a lot of respect for him. And we don't have to get to the point of all labor unions striking to compel him to do the needful. But we have the muscle to flex. Yes. And like I said, I have a lot of respect for him. We can compel him. We would act, and the government, the president, the state would have no option than also to unleash the forces that he have on him to compel him.
And that's our package for tonight. For more business news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Beverly Broom. I leave you with news making headlines on the international front.